Hello coaster lovers, I know that I should have done this video a while ago, but if I had to sum up my first ever visit to SeaWorld Orlando, I did not give the park a fair handshake. All the coasters were open luckily, but I had to constantly deal with annoying people throughout my experience, and it was packed. But I did visit for my second time a couple days ago, and it was a lot better. Now I can fairly rank the park's coasters. So before we start, I did not ride Super Grovers or Journey to Atlantis. I was not interested in the first place for either of those rides. But anyway, let's kick off the list with Penguin Trek. This is probably the biggest coaster disappointment. It's because now it's a fact that new B&Ms are way rougher than their older ones. I remember at this moment right here that the restraint jabbed the area near my hip bone, but besides that, it's a family coaster, so I can't diss it that much. The theming in the dark ride portion is pretty cool, but I don't want to spoil it here. And the layout was pretty decent. The two launches had some surprising yank to it. It's a fun ride, don't get me wrong, but it's just the roughness that bugs me. But a coaster that was the opposite in terms of smoothness is Icebreaker, which is taking the 5th spot. What I mean by it was the opposite of Penguin Trek in terms of smoothness, this coaster was really smooth, and combine that with a solid layout, and it surprisingly exceeded expectations. Going up the spike in the back has some surprising floater, and the launches too were zippy, and as expected, the trains were trash. If you want to look unattractive just to fit in the tightest trains anywhere, go check out a ride built by Premier, but if you look past the trains, it's actually pretty fun. Next up we got was also kind of disappointing just like Penguin Trek. It's Kraken. This was sadly closed on my recent visit a couple days ago, but Kraken didn't really deliver the forces I was expecting, and not to sound like a whiny coaster enthusiast, but the rattle is really noticeable. You will get headbanging on some moments, but at least Kraken has a decent layout. The first drop is pretty good, and the second vertical loop was surprising. It just throws you, and it's combined with the use of trenches. The other versions were pretty good too. The Cobra Roll surprised me. I thought it was going to be an afterthought, but it actually pulled decent G's there. It's probably my least favorite high thrill B&M at SeaWorld, but I'm not saying it's bad. It's pretty good, but I slightly take Pipeline over Kraken. This coaster exceeded expectations by a slight edge. The first launch has some great pull to it, and the airtime is unique and unusual in the best way possible. And I also like how the seats bounce up and down as well. The moments of positive G's were great since you're not standing in one spot with the normal stand-up coaster. And the SO right here is one of the best parts of the ride. The vest restraints do tighten around your collarbone, which is the only negative I have to say. And the layout isn't the best, but it's just the forces that matter, and Pipeline was a great time. Loved that ride. Now let's go across the park to a ride that shot my expectations way high, and it's Manta. I did get to ride this twice not that long ago, and they were both towards the back, and trust me, if you only get one chance to ride it, do the back. You just get pulled through every element. The first drop stands out in the whip department. You also get positive G's, but in a weird way. Since you're in a flying position, all the blood goes to the front of your body. It was a sensation, and I also got a pop of airtime coming off the mid-course, which surprised me. And on both my rides, this waterfall right here got my knees soaked, which wasn't the best sensation to a person who doesn't really like water effects, but it didn't ruin the experience for me at least. The only thing that bugs me about this coaster is the operations. Flying coasters have a lot of moving parts, so that leads to slow operations, but I respect the crew for working their best. But there is just one ride that stands out from every coaster at SeaWorld, and it's no surprise, it's Mako. There was no contest here, and this is my most ridden coaster in the state of Florida, dethroning Iron Gwazi at 8 rides on that thing, and this coaster was so addicting to ride. It's because all the airtime hills hit, the best one being this 5-second floater hill in the middle of the layout, and 90% of my rides were in the back, which means I only rode the coaster once in the front row, and it's a toughie on which row on Mako is the best. I think the 5-second floater hill feels like 5 seconds in the front, but in the back, it feels a little shorter, but that's not a dig against the back. I think the back is slightly better than the front. The airtime is way more powerful in the back. The second half of the layout after the mid-course is pretty solid too. The best seats to ride is the left or right seat, take your pick. But most of my rides took place in the back row and in the left seat. And as a new tradition, I'll lap Mako as many times as I can in the last hour of park operation. But that's just my opinion on all of SeaWorld Orlando's roller coasters ranked. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And our goal for this year is to hit about 700 subscribers by next year in 2026. And it would actually make my day if you just click that little white button underneath the video. And you can check out my Gmail as well if you want to collaborate with me. But there is a few technicalities. There will be a new video coming out in the next 5 days. So make sure to keep that adrenaline pumping, and thanks for watching.